Hi friends, my name is Aqil Ahmed, and in this particular video tutorial we will see if null values found in Excel file, then the SSIS package should reject the file, otherwise it should load the data. So recently I got a question from one of my subscriber, Chaluri Satish, and he asked while loading a data from Excel, if null value in columns, then reject the file and need to send an alert. So we will see if null value found in the Excel columns, then we will move the file to the reject folder and then we'll send an email that the file has been rejected. So let's jump to the demo. In my D files location, I got an employee file employee.xlsx, and if I open this particular file, so right now there are few null values in this particular file. So if you see for the record number 8, the gender is missing, and similarly for the record number 11, the email is missing, and here for record number 17, the gender is missing again. So it seems like for the 3 records 1, 2 and 3, so for the 3 records there are some null or missing values in the Excel file. So what we will do, we will reject the file because there are some null values, and we'll send an email. And in case if the data is good, then the package should load the file and it should not send the email that the file has been rejected. So this is kind of thing that we can do. And in case if the file has been rejected, then the file will be moved to this folder, rejected folder, and if the file has been loaded successfully, then we can move the file to the processed folder. So this is kind of thing that we need to do, and we will be importing this particular file into the SQL Server table in the test database. So we will create a SQL Server table in the test database, and then we'll do this particular thing. So what I'm thinking is that what I can do, I can actually create a errored record table or maybe null values table. So every time the package will run, the null value table, it will be truncated, and if there will be any null value in any column, then we will move those particular records to the null value table, and after loading a particular file we will check the count from that particular table. So in case if the count is greater than 0, it means that there are some null values in the file, and in that particular scenario the file must be rejected and an email should be sent. And in case if the count of the table is 0, it means that there is no null value in the Excel file, and then the file should not be rejected. So let's implement that particular thing. So let me close this particular Excel file, and this is my blank SSIS package that I will be using today. And what we can do, we can actually use a for each loop container, so that if we place any file at this particular location, then the file should be imported. So what I can do, I can just drag and drop the for each loop container into the control flow window, and I can create an file path SSIS variable here. So I will call my SSIS variable as file path, and the data type for the variable will be string here, and I can give an initial value to this particular SSIS variable. So I can provide this value d files employee. So I can paste the value here, and now I can just configure the for each loop container here. I can go to the collection, and then from the enumerator type I can select the for each file enumerator, and under this particular location I can just provide the location to the input folder. So this is my input folder, and I want to import the type of files xlsx, okay, and I can click on variable mapping, and from the variables I will select the file path SSIS variable, and I can click on OK. Now I can just drag and drop the data flow task, because the data flow task can be used to migrate the data. So I can just configure the data flow task. Because our source is a Excel file, so I can just drag and drop the Excel source into the data flow task. And now let me right click and configure the Excel source here, click new to create a new Excel connection manager, and I can browse the Excel file. So this is my file employee.xlsx, and I can click on OK, and now I can select the Excel sheet from here, okay, and I can go to the column. So these are the columns, so I can click on OK. Now what I can do, I can use a conditional split transformation here, because using the conditional split transformation we can know if there are some null values in a column. So I can configure the conditional split transformation, and now we can write the condition here. We can use the isNull function here, isNull, and then we can just drag and drop the column name. So if is null email equal to true, it means there are some null values in the email column. So what will happen, that this will be the invalid record. So I can call this output as invalid records. Okay, and similarly I can put an or condition here, that is null, and then I can just drag and drop the gender column here. So you can write this condition for all the columns or whatever columns you think will be good to check. So if is null gender equal to true, so now we will check it for both the columns. Like for the email column, is null email equal to true or is null gender equal to true. So if there will be any null value in any of the column, then those records will be moved to the invalid records output, and rest of the records will be moved to the conditional split default output. So I can click on OK. Now what I can do, I can just drag and drop two OLEDB destination, and in the first OLEDB destination we will move the invalid records to the null value table. So I can right click and configure this particular OLEDB connection manager, click new. So this is our connection to the test database on SQL Server 2019 instance. So I will select this connection manager and I can click on OK. From data access mode, I will select table or view fast load, and then I can create a new table here. So maybe I can call my table as null records. You can give any name to the table, and maybe I can just copy the table name from here so that I can just recheck it later. Select star from null records. Okay, now I can click on OK, and then I can go to the mappings and I can make sure that all input columns have been mapped with the destination columns, and then I can click on OK. Similarly, I can just connect the conditional split transformation, the default output, with another OLEDB destination, and I can configure another OLEDB destination. I can click new to create a new table here, and I will call my table as employee data, and I can maybe copy this particular name from here, and I can just paste the name, select star from employee data. So I can click OK, and now the employee data table should have been created as well. And now I can go to the mappings. So all input columns have been mapped with the destination columns. So I can click on OK. So now this is fine. Now what will happen, that the good records will be inserted to this particular table, employee data, and the bad records with the null value, they will be inserted to the null records table. Okay, and what exactly we will do, that before this particular data flow task, we will truncate the null records table. Okay, so I can just generate the create table statement from here, and yeah, so what I can do, I can just go here and there should be a table null records. So I can generate the drop and recreate to statement from here. I think that should be fine, so that in case if table exists, then it will drop the table and it will recreate the table. So I can copy this particular statement from here, and I can just drag and drop the execute SQL task into the for each loop container, and maybe I can call it as clean null records table. So this should be fine, and I can just configure this one. From the connection, I will select the test connection and I will paste this code here, so it will drop and recreate the null records table. So I can click on OK. OK. Now what we will do, that after loading the data, we will again use the execute SQL task, and this time we will get the counts of the null records table. Okay, so I can call it this particular task as get count of null records. Okay, and now there is one important thing, that I need to declare an SSIS variable here, invalid record counts. Okay, so this will have the number of invalid records, and now what we can do is, after loading the data, we can check the total number of records in the null records table. Select count star from null records. Okay, so this will tell us the total number of invalid records. So I can copy this query from here, and I can just configure this particular task, and I can select the connection under SQL statement. I can paste this query, click OK. Under result set we can select single row, and then we can go to the result set, click add. We can set the result set name to 0, and from the variable we will select the invalid record count variable, and now I can click on OK. So we are good so far. It will drop and recreate the null records table. It will load the data to both the tables if the data will be available, and after that we are checking the total number of null records. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward so far. Now what will happen, that if the total number of null records are greater than 0, then we should send an email that there is some invalid data and we should reject the file. Okay, so first we will send an email. Okay, so for sending the email we can use an script task. Okay, so I can just drag and drop the script task into the for each loop container, and maybe I can call it as reject email. Okay, and I can connect the execute SQL task with the script task, and then I can configure this one. From the evaluation operation I will select expression and constants, and here we can write a condition like if invalid record count is greater than 0, then the file will be rejected. So I can click on OK. Okay, so we will send an email, and after sending the email we will also move the file to the rejected folder. So first of all let me configure the email here. So I can right click and click on edit. I can click on edit script so that it can open the script editor for me. Alright, so the script editor window has been opened up, and maybe I can close this one. I already written some code that we can use here, and I can simply copy the code from here and I can paste the code at this particular location. I will share this code with you, so in case if you want to use it in your SSIS package, then you can use it. It is missing some namespaces, so I can click show potential fixes using system.net.mail. It is missing system.io, so I can add it. So I think we are good using system.net. Alright, so what we are doing here, we are going to send the email from this email ID skumar84770@gmail.com to this email ID akil33@gmail.com. so we will get an email at this particular email ID. Okay, and I will share a link in the description of the video like how to use the Gmail SMTP server to send the email. So I will share the link of the two videos. In the first video I will show you how to configure the Gmail SMTP server, and in another I will show you how to send the email, or you can just see this particular code like how we are sending the email. So we just need to generate an app password, and that app password is for this particular email ID. So we can use this particular email ID to send the email, and this is the app password for this one, and this is the Gmail SMTP server, and this is the from SSIS package notification, and the subject will be like file has been rejected, and in the message body we can write we found some invalid data in the file. So you can write any text here, either in the subject or body you can write anything, and that should be fine. So this is how it will work. So I can go to the file, exit, and I can click on OK. So this will save the code for us, and after that I can just use the file system task. So what file system task will do, it will move the file from the input folder to the rejected directory. Okay, this is the rejected directory, this one. So what I can do, I can just copy this particular path, the rejected folder path, and I can declare an SSIS variable here, and I can call the variable as rejected folder, and the data type will be string, and I can copy and paste the rejected folder location here. Similarly, I can create another folder, processed folder, and the data type will be string here, and I can copy the location of the processed folder. Okay, so in case if the file is good, then the file should be moved to the processed folder. So I can close this one. So I can right click and configure the file system task. From the operation we will select the move file operation. Is source path variable, so we can set it to true, and our source file name exists inside the file path, so I will select the file path here. Is destination path variable, so we can set it to true as well, and our destination variable is rejected folder for this particular case. Okay, and override destination should be true, so I can click on OK. And so this is for the rejected file. And now in case of the good file, what we will do, we will, if you want to send the email for the good file, then it's up to you. Otherwise, for the good file, you can simply load the file and just move the file to the process directory. So I will just move the file to the process directory for the good file. Okay, that should be fine. Otherwise, you just need to change only this particular code, you know, that the file has been processed successfully and all the data from the file has been loaded. Okay, it will take some time just to open and, you know, just change these two lines. So I think you can do that. So in case of a good file, I will just move the Excel file to the processed folder. So I can call it as move good file. Okay, and then I can just drag and drop this particular task into the for each loop container, and I can configure this one. I can simply copy this particular code from here, and I can just configure this one as well. I will change it to expression and constant from the evaluation operation, and I can paste the code here. So if the invalid record count will be equal to 0, it means that the data is good. So we will just move the file. So I can click on OK, OK, and now I can configure this one. The source connection will be the file path, of course, and the operation will be the move file. Only the destination will change. So in case of a good file, we will move the file to the processed folder, and I can click on OK. So our SSIS package is almost ready. The only thing is that as of now, the Excel connection manager is hard coded, so we need to make it dynamic. So I can right click on it, go to the properties, and then I can go to the expressions. If you see, the file path is inside the Excel file path property, so we can just configure the Excel file path property, and we can assign the value from the file path SSIS variables. So I can just drag and drop the file path into the expression, and I can click on evaluate expression, click OK, OK. So our SSIS package is ready, and if you see at the D file location, as of now there is only one file, employee.xlsx, and this file contains 3 invalid records. And if you check the process folder, so as of now there is no file inside the process folder. And if you see the rejected folder, so as of now there is no file inside the rejected folder. Okay, and if you check the SQL Server table, so right now both the tables are empty. So let me start running the SSIS package, and this file should be rejected. Okay, and I should got an email that the file has been rejected and the file should be moved to the rejected folder. So the process ran fine, and if I check the email, so I got an email that the file has been rejected. We found some invalid data in the file. And if I check the counts now, so for example, if I check the null record count, so there are 3 records, that this is null, this is null, this is null. Okay, so there are 3 records in the null records table, and if I go to this location, so the file has been moved to the rejected folder. Okay, so this is how we thought to make this particular package work. And now let me put a good file at this particular location, and now the file should be moved to the processed folder. Okay, so I have a file at this location, good file, so I can copy this file and let me paste it here. If I open this particular file, so I think it should not have any missing data. Yeah, so it doesn't have any missing data, so I think this should be loaded correctly. So let me rerun the SSIS package. Alright, so let me rerun the SSIS package again and see what happens. So now you can see that the file has been loaded successfully, and after the get count of null records, it has not executed these tasks. Instead, it ran the file system task for the move good file. So if you check the data flow task, so all 1000 records got inserted to this table, employee data table, and none of the records got inserted to the invalid records table. So the invalid records table should be empty as of now, and the good file should be moved to the processed folder. So now you can see that the good file has been moved to the processed folder. So I think this is what we wanted from the SSIS package. So I think that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching the video, and if you like the video then please click the like button, do subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon and click on all so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much.